multiplied 4
I
times
just had a question.
2 is 8.
You go ahead, Spencer.
Yeah, it was like
9
earlier.
minus
and
8
I just
over
kind of
4.
forgot. I think the formula is finding the equation when you have 2 points.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I could. Yeah. It's number 2 on the practice list.
So here's the thing. If I say find the equation of the line that does shit, right? What could I say? Find the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points. That is perpendicular to this line and goes through this point. There's a lot of stuff I could fill that line in, right? What are the 2 things you need?
Slope and the y-intercept.
Okay.
That would be great, but in general you need a point. If the point you have is the y-intercept, kick ass, because then you can use the shorter equation.
Wait, what'd you just say? The point you have is the y-intercept. What?
Then I could use mx plus b, because then I know what b
Right,
is,
right.
the y piece and the y-intercept.
The point could be anything.
Point could be any point. If it happens to be the y-intercept,
Oh, no, no.
that's much nicer.
Okay.
Then I don't have to use the y minus y1 equals mx minus y1 equation. So this one says what? Goes through
negative 1, 4, and 0, 5.
which point am I going to use?
Doesn't matter. 0, 5.
Not really,
I would use
but
positive then, right?
even better is the fact that this point is what? What's special about this guy?
0.
So it is the
Y.
y-intercept, which means b is 5. So all we need to know now is what m is. And how do I figure out what m is? So it's a point I got. You could use either one,
Yeah.
but if you use this one, I know what the ship b is. So yeah, I'm going to use that one. Now how do you get the slope?
Just gotta plug in the formula.
M. Y.
And if you forget, what is it in English? Rise over run. Rise with y. So the y's go on top. So some of you guys have that backwards. So you do the difference in the y's up top. Why? Because it's rise. And that rhymes with y's. And then it's run.
Which rhymes
And that's the other one.
sun.
Sun, which
Yeah,
leads
sun
to
is
x somehow.
It's an x. The horizon is an x value.
I like it. So there you go.
Ton.
So y2.
Wow, should do poetry.
So then you get.
Are you thinking or asking us?
I'm asking.
Oh, hang on, I gotta do math.
5 minus 4.
Yeah, if you do 5 minus 4,
I was just waiting to.
you have to do
0.
0 minus. So a lot of you guys, the equation's got a minus in it. If the point you're plugging in at that value is itself negative, then yeah, you need 2 negatives. I mean, that's. Don't just go, well, there's already a negative there. No. X, if x1 is negative, it better be freaking negative. And then, of course, the bottom becomes. So you know, 1 over 1 is 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And just like reiterating, does the y1 and y2 and the x1 and x2, does that matter which
No.
set of coordinates that plugs into?
I really want this to make sense. The only reason that we ever did this is because if I do 5 minus 4, I have to do 0 minus negative 1. I must go the same way. If I do 4 minus 5, effectively calling the other one 1, the other one 2, then I have to do negative 1 minus 0. Well, if I do 4 minus 5, on the bottom is negative 1 minus 0, I get negative 1 under negative 1, which is still frickin' 1. So if I turn them around, both the signs change, and that cancels. So that's why it doesn't matter which one you call 1, which one you call 2. So this formula to me is unnecessarily difficult looking, but the reason they do it this way is so you subtract the same way.
So, like,
Or else you got an up down with a negative slope. It doesn't make sense. You do it the wrong way.
So
that's
what
let's raise hands. How about?
So what's up?
Go ahead.
Oh.
Ask your question.
No, it's done.
We're not done with this, right?
No.
What's the equation?
Is it y equals when it's?
Yeah, it's mx plus b, so then m is 1, and then b is 5. How do you check that? What's negative 1 plus 5? 4.
What if there's no? What if it's not 0? You don't have your y intercept right away. Then you use the other formula?
Okay, so let's do this problem again. Or not really for the whole week. But what if I use this instead? So what if I use that one?
It's still y.
Right?
Right. That's okay. That's what I
Y
forgot about.
minus 4
Yep.
equals m times x minus negative 1. So your y minus 4 equals x plus 1. Add 4, I get the same flippin' thing.
So I'm gonna ask a quick question, because I get my negatives mixed up, so negative 10 divided by negative 5 would be 2.
Yes, because the negatives cancel.
Yes, okay.
I like it.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you do number 6? I didn't figure out how to graph that. Or, no, I got it all wrong.
Oh, 6, you gotta be a little careful because, was it 6 or was it some, oh, it was 4. 6 involves shading, right? So one of these is x minus 4y, come on 4. Greater than 8, the other one is 3y plus 2x. Greater than that or 6. So we have to, so when I say have to, it's what I make you do, but I'm trying to get you really used to mx plus b and doing all that kind of stuff. You could actually get intercepts and do it that way too, but, so first I should solve each one of these for y. Because why? Why?
Because you can easily, yeah,
Slope intercept form, you gotta solve for y to get an mx plus b.
and it's a lot easier.
If I wanna blow your minds a little bit. If we would've made the formula this, slope would have been run over rise. Oh, okay. And then you got like my.
Yeah, would that be viable?
It wouldn't make physical sense anymore. You know what I mean? Because then this would be infinite. But we're not gonna.
Yeah,
We're not gonna do
for
that.
sure.
I'm sorry. He doesn't know either.
Alright, so y.
So if I solve this first one for y, just to do it real quick. And then the second one. And some of you guys aren't careful enough when you solve these. There's 2 levels of carefulness on this. It's inequality, so you gotta be careful about flipping the sign as you solve if you divide or multiply by negative. Secondly, sometimes you guys move stuff over and don't, like this will stay positive. And then the problem is a lot worse than it's supposed to be. And maybe. So I love it when a student does something like that and then the problem's really hard and they write me a little note, man, you made this really hard. I didn't make it hard at all. You did your own thing.
Some PFET students write notes.
Yes. I write notes. This one was really hard. I'm like, I didn't make it to be hard. You just chose to make it hard. I don't know what to do.
Sometimes I just write little question marks.
The main thing with this, so that was from an earlier section. That's where we just got used to how to do one of these, and you have the dashed lines, and the solid lines, and the shading, and then you just graph this on top of that one. Right? So
Yeah.
who asked that question? What
Hi
was-
there.
So now that we're here, is this where you, what do you do now?
So you just do it at negative 2.
I like it.
And
In fact,
then-
notice how they both have.
Yeah, that's where I was confused.
Oh, don't get confused. It's kind of nice. So you know it's going to be negative 2 for both of them. So one of them is going to go from there. It's going to go up 1 over 4. And what kind of line is that one going to be?
Straight one. Sure.
Dash.
Dash it.
Dash
Oh.
it through this.
Dash it.
I love you guys with straight shit.
Thanks.
And then the other one also starts at negative 2, but now I'm going to go down to
Over 3.
over 3. And that line is going to be straight and
Just
solid.
solid.
Full. I like it.
Well, I mean,
Ate enough at Thanksgiving. Oh, what I should have done before I did that was which side do you shade this guy? You can do 0 less than -2. Is 0 less than -2?
Yeah.
No.
Wait.
0 is not less than -2. So it's shade this way. Right?
That's why you're the math teacher.
That's one reason. And then this guy, me, I would say down, bam, right? Up, shma. Or you could do 0, 0, 0 bigger than -2. Yes, 0 is. So then I would shade in the direction of 0, 0. Where does the shadings overlap?
Zero.
Here,
Right there. You see that? It's just, you know.
Nine. Yeah.
so what you want us to do when we do equations, well, when we graph, you want us to do the lines instead of just shading
I
it?
got the-
How do you mean? Sorry.
No, you put the arrows were.
Oh, yeah, it just makes it visually easier to follow. Because if you do this, and then it's really hard to make it darker where the answer is. If you just do arrow, arrow, and then shade for real, and then it's easier to see where the answer is. So the answer in this case is all the points in this triangular section. They're all the points that do what?
So this one.
They're all the points that, every point in here does what?
Next two.
Works in both of those.
So that's what we're saying.
Yes. Are we done with that one? You guys okay with that one?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
We're gonna find a line that's perpendicular and then goes to a certain point.
Yes.
So it says perpendicular to y.
So we have a question, find the equation of the line that. I don't give a shit what they say yet, I just know I've got to get these two things. Now, what do they say?
It's perpendicular to y plus 4x equals 2, and it goes through 9, -2. So, obviously put that.
Man, you did that question, that's.
It was you.
I know.
I'll give you a no.
So how do I have a point? Sometimes. Do I have a point? 9, -2. Check. Right? Do I have a way to get the slope?
Yeah.
Yeah, just subtract 4.
Yeah, get this guy. So what people sometimes will do is they'll solve this for y, and then they'll circle it. Because their brain says, we've got an equation of a line. Is that my line? No. My line is perpendicular to that one. Beautiful. So the slope for my line is 1/4.
So is it gonna be y equals 1/4 x minus 2?
No.
Every point? Or
Y
it
is
be
b, not -2.
Because it's not the y.
Because that is not the y-intercept.
But it's an X.
y equals 1/4 x plus 2?
Stop guessing. So can I use mx plus b directly on this?
No.
Why not? Because I don't have the y-intercept. So what's the other one?
Points.
Y minus one.
This one works for any point.
That's why.
This one will also work for a y-intercept, but why would I do this big ass thing when I know b in that case? This case, I don't know freaking b.
That's what I'm thinking.
When you don't know the y-intercept, Jeff is making you use this one. So y minus -2
Yep.
equals
1/4.
1/4 x minus
9.
9. Is everybody cool with where all that came from? Yes. Oh, perpendicular to this one. This guy's slope is -4. Perpendicular slope would be the negative reciprocal. If one line has a -4 slope, the perpendicular one would be change the sign and flip it. Bam. So this is what I know about my line, and thankfully that's all I need to get the equation. So this gets really yummy. That's still creepy.
My Y's been 4s.
I know. So this would be -8/4, so -17/4. Oh, gee Louise.
4 point.
Ew.
Yeah, that point sucks a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Okay.
Like, when are you ever gonna have 17/4 of something?
All the time?
Yeah? Name 5 times in your life you had 17/4 of something, Jeff, right now.
No.
You probably don't know one.
That's what I thought.
Take a bite out of all the chocolates in the
Yeah.
chocolate bar. That's
Yeah.
17/4.
And then you say, I have 17/4 of a chocolate bar. Who counts like
Take
that?
my math 88, and then we'll do that, Rob. I'm assuming you've done that, so I'm not gonna talk about it.
I haven't done it.
Oh, well, shit. I gotta rectify that. Alright. Sorry, who had a question?
My question was, what's that little squiggly thing at the end of those?
You wrote through.
Oh. And I wrote through in the
Don't make fun of his handwriting.
completely wrong way, and I seem to not give a shit.
Do you have
It's like the drive-through.
It kind of like reminded me of a doctor, I don't know why.
Oh, dude.
Dr. Jeff.
Somebody's told me I could become a doctor just based on my writing. And I'm like, that scares me to think about if there's a doctor who's become that just based on. I think this will work for you. Yeah. All right. Hope you don't die. All right. Yes.
One more question.
Yes.
67.
Ooh, look at this. Official. After 4 years in college, okay, this sounds about right. Josie owes $65,800 in student loans. That is almost exactly twice what I owed. So I owed 32,000 something. Yeah. I was gonna just stay a student and keep deferring payments, but I figured it's not really making money, so I probably need to get the hell out of here.
Part-time job sure helped with part of that.
Yeah. The interest rate on federal loans is 4.5%. So she owes this. The interest rate, 4.5%.
Could be.
Yeah, and the rate on private bank loans is 2%. So this is the federal rate. And the private rate would have been 2%. The total interest she owed for 1 year was $28.7850. I think about half of you stopped listening to me by now. Let's see. Uh-oh, wake up. This is the total interest she owed. Okay. What is the amount of each loan? Okay. So obviously she took out a combination of federal loans and private loans. I want to know where she went for that. Hello. 2%. That's really good.
I never heard of private doing 2% unless you have like really good credit.
Could be your uncle. I'll give it to you, no problem. 2%. So again, what are the two things we don't know? It said, the question said, how much each loan was. There's two loans. There's a federal loan and a private loan. So what are you gonna call this? The federal loan, what do you want to call it?
Yeah.
And the private loan? That's crazy, man. Thankfully my F's and my P's look different. Okay. So, what is the first equation we could piece together?
F plus private.
F plus P.
Not the interest, that's the harder equation. There is a simple equation. The one that I told you almost always happens. When you add the two variables, in this case, it was gonna equal
65.
that.
Yeah, 65.
Yeah.
It's not interest yet. I haven't taken these into account. The total loans, that loan plus that loan is $65,800, kids.
But it
Yes.
says the 65,800 is after 4 years.
4 years. That's fine. So, I skipped over the 4 years. That's gonna come in for the interest.
So the loan
That's-
FMP is for 4 years loan or not each year loan?
Oh, there it is. No. All right.
That's my confusion.
4 years does not mean shit here. She went to college for 4 years.
Uh-huh.
That's done. She now owes that much money,
In total.
right? So the 4 years is not important. Look what it says at the end. The total interest she owed for 1 year was that. So it's all about 1 year. So the interest formula, I don't know if you guys remember this. Interest formula is I be pretty. Did I say that to you guys before? You know the dirt one, for distance equals rate times time. This is I be pretty for interest. So sometimes in that one section, you had to put a 5 there for 5 years and all this. This has got 1 year, so that's like a 1 there, so it just goes away. Stay with me. All right. So is everybody cool with that equation? Doesn't matter how she got there. How long did it take her to get to this? 4 years. Does it really change anything? No. The total amount of loan she owes is that. And now how do I bring the interest into play? How did she end up owing that total? 2878.50. What percentage of the federal does she owe us? 4.5%. So that would be what as a number?
0.045.
Yeah.
Plus
0.02.
0.02 P equals that much. So the interest from the federal plus the interest from the private equals the total interest she owed after 1 year. So I kind of try to get you guys, does this always happen where you have like A plus B equals, I mean, no, but it does happen a lot. So you have a total equation and then you have something involving multiplying by stuff, in this case, percentage rates. This is gross.
That's my confusion. You see, it mentioned here the interest is for 1 year interest.
Yep,
and then
totally.
We count the federal loan FMP, that's for total loan for 4 years.
No. Again. Okay, I really want this to make sense. That 4 years is not, so the way most loans work is they don't start accruing interest until you are out of college. You don't have to know all that. So that 4 years is just the amount of time it took for her to get this to be this much money. So there, at the end of 4 years, she owes this much money. How much after that are we looking to make her have this much interest 1 year? So T is 1. The 4 years, they didn't need to say that. They could have said after she was done with college. It would have been the same problem, just they wouldn't have had one more number that doesn't mean anything, right? Okay. Yeah, to make this one a little bit better, some of you guys need to remember that if there is something gross with an equation, I don't give a shit what kind of problem it's sitting in the middle of. I can multiply both sides of that equation by whatever I want to. What could you multiply both sides of that equation by?
1,000.
Yeah, you could do 1,000. What was that, 15? I would multiply it by, let me see, let me show you what I would do. I would move everything by 2. And then I could just double everything, because then that would become a whole number 9. Now, if you don't see that, you can move everything by 3 and make big ass numbers if you want to. It's up to you. There are some problems in the homework that look like this. They have 2 equations. One of them is like negative 1/3 x plus 4/3 y equals 2, and the other one is 4/5 x minus 2/5 y equals 3 or something. Before you start doing anything to this, what would I do to number 1 first? Multiply it by 3. Are you changing the problem? No. If you multiply both sides, it's the same equation. It just looks a lot better. What are you going to do to the second equation? Multiply by 5. As long as you do both sides, it's the same problem. You just made it look a lot better. A lot.
I get it.
Yeah. It's my favorite phrase.
Question 404.
Oh, okay, sure. What was that? Oh, okay. I think, let me see. 5.5 hours for a jet to fly with a headwind. Oh, yeah, okay. All right. This one's really nice and yummy. So this is one from the practice test. See that last problem references number 399 through 400 something from the book, right? Those are all the word problems. This one is, it takes, what is this, 404. So it takes 5.5 hours for a flight. What's this say again, Shane? I'm sorry, I got it. 5.5 hours for a jet to fly 2475 miles with a headwind. And then it takes, to go the same amount of distance with a tailwind, it takes 5 hours. So it goes right back, it's 2475 miles, 5 hours with the tailwind. What does headwind and tailwind mean?
From the front
Air.
back.
We don't even know.
Yes, you do. I felt like, have you guys ever seen the show Superstore, I think it's called? Yes, you know what I'm talking about? And the main guy, what are you talking about? He was actually from Kids in the Hall, but, all right. It's important because I don't know whether or not to subtract or add later in the problem unless I understand it. Am I going against the wind, which means I would be going slower? Or am I going with the wind, which means I'm going faster? And the old jet stream and going from one side of this to the other and like, well, it take 4 hours there and then 6 hours back. What are you trying to do? You know, it's just the way it works. Shit.
Like a treadmill.
Headwind, it should kind of make sense. It took longer, so therefore headwind must be against the wind. And then that one's with. So the problem really asks, what's the problem say? Find the speed of the jet in still air and the speed of the wind. Okay, so I know those are my two things. Speed of jet and still air, meaning if there's no wind, and the speed of the wind, which we're assuming to be constant this whole time. So I gotta give those variable expressions. So all I did was summarize what they told me and write down what the question asked for so I know what I need variables for. Right? So what do you want to call this one?
X.
Let's not call it S, because
J.
Jeff,
J.
here's that S and here's a 5.
Foul.
You understand? And I did in my head. I'm making an S and now I'm making a 5. Well, that's
K.
it's terrible.
K.
Why don't we make
You
it
could make
freaking
it
J, guys?
J.
Yeah, yeah. And then this one,
W.
Why?
and you can make it whatever you want. You can make it A and B. It's just generally a good idea to make them something that references what they come from, because then it's easier to answer at the end what the hell it is.
The reason I was saying K because it's not, they're knots, because they use knots.
Dudular, I like it. You went way in there. I like it.
The reason I said a number was to mess it up.
I figured that. All right. So what have I got? I got distance equals rate times time, right?
Yeah.
Good old dirt.
Okay. So where does J end up? So I got my jet in still air, and I got the wind speed. So obviously J and W is the speed of those things, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a little bit weird. I'm doing this wrong. It's all right, Jeff. You'll be fine. You'll make it.
I won't.
All right. Let me start over. What are the two parts of this problem?
J.
There and back. Okay. All right. Sounds like the hop. There and back. I like it. So going there, both of these are 2475 miles individually. Right? So I can actually put that number in there.
We know the T.
Yeah, we know the times. So this is kind of, let's see, where's the time? So 5.5 hours there, and then 5 hours back.
So the rate is D times just, no, it's,
Oh, I see what's going on. All right, you ready? You ready? How fast is it going against the wind? So it's going J mile an hour, but the wind is coming at me at W mile an hour.
Minus.
Yeah, so that'd be J minus W. I filled in a little too much in here, but hopefully you'll see what it is. And so if I'm going back, I'm going with the wind, so now it's going to be
Plus.
plus W.
Oh.
Sort of like if you're at the airport, you're really bored, your planes, you go on the little treadmill going the wrong way, right? If you get the right velocity forward to match how the treadmill's going, you stay in place, of course, right? Because then it would be something minus itself. So like, have you ever seen kayakers do that? They can kind of do the forward velocity equals the velocity of the river, and it looks like they're staying in place, right? Oh, they make exactly that face. So now, I should have filled this in there. I don't want to make this, because what 2475 must equal that times that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I could do, this is interesting, I got I need that. There you go. So 2475 equals J minus W times 5.5, and 2475 equals J plus W times 5. Now, do I have two equations that have two variables in them? Do they look like they're in the right setup? Do they? No, they don't. I'm sorry. What should I do right here?
Distribute?
Yes. So let me write all these. 5.5J minus 5.5W equals 2475. And down there would be 5J plus 5W equals 2475.
So then it's 0.5J
Here's my question.
minus 0.5. No,
You don't
the
want to
opposite.
connect those right now because nothing would kill each other, right? Okay, so now it's all about, these already have opposite signs. If you don't want to consider anything right now, you can just multiply this one by 5 and this one by 5.5, and then they'll both be the same number, right?
Yeah.
You could do that if you want to. Yes?
Can I multiply with 1.1, the second one?
Yeah, you could multiply by 1.1 and then that would make it 5.5. See, there's more options than just what I said. You could also divide both by 5. You see how 5 goes into everything?
Yeah.
Thanks for humoring me. No? I know, that one's a little bit more disgusting, but the steps still save you. Variables come from the question they ask. This is a distance, rate, time problem, so you can set that up and just start throwing in what you know. They liked, and so do I, the whole row against the stream, row with the stream. It would be exactly this idea. Minus against plus with. That only makes physical sense.
You mean that downstream and upstream?
Downstream, upstream. Downstream is like tailwind, it's going with you. Upstream, you're going against you. I like it. Okay. So what are we getting on? Do we want to do this? So I would divide by, let's try to do Jameson. I would divide by 5. Let's not do that. Let's multiply this by 1.1.